Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody.
Greetings, travelers. It's been a while. How are you, B?
I'm doing good, doing good. Just adjusting the volume a little bit of the music.
Oh,
Oh,
don't stand
standing
up.
up.
Sit down, you silly
Start.
dog.
DJ is done, guys. He's already going.
All right, come on. Game, work for me here. There we go. Ah, well, okay.
You
We
don't
have a
want to say
problem
you're
here.
very nervous today.
I'm anxious. That must be it.
Nope, it doesn't want to say.
Okay. Yeah, every time I try. Let's try from the back this time. Funny, as soon as you go live, it does this stuff. There.
Okay, he's okay.
Now sit still. You gotta love this game and some of its bugs. Sometimes it makes you just laugh.
It's weird.
How
That's
are
something.
you?
This is the first time I saw this. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good as well. It's been a long time since we did another studio.
It has. It's been since before Christmas, I believe.
I think, yeah, the last one was
the
in
last one.
November.
Yeah. I think it was Captain Dread was our last
Yes.
guest, I think. And yeah, geez, it's been a long time. I almost didn't want to wake up for today, but I mean, my body, it's laying there. I'm like, oh yeah, we got Studio 16, says my head. So then I drag my sorry butt out of bed, and here we are. But yeah, I mean, wow. How many episodes have we done now, Studio 16?
Well, I would say we did 2 years of it, but it's not 2 years like every month because we did have some like updates or interruptions. So let's say we did 18, 19 episodes.
Okay.
I think.
That's not too bad. You know what? That's a
I
pretty
can
long
check.
run.
I can
Yeah.
check. Give me a second. Podcasts, Studio 16, 22 episodes.
22 episodes. That's pretty darn good. I have to say, I don't think I've seen 22 episodes of a single thing, or a themed stream in a while. So we should be proud of that, I think. We've done a pretty good job, and we've had some really amazing guests on the show.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to top, what we've been able to accomplish on Studio 16. So, but yeah, really, really happy to have done this with you and enjoyed the whole adventure and everything else. What are your plans? Like, what have you been doing? What as far as No Man's Sky goes? Like, do you plan on doing more exploring, or do you have like a new theme that you're gonna try and start up, or what?
No, I think for the moment, my thing, my brain was just I need to break from No Man's Sky as making content about it for a while. I was feeling burned out. Like, when you get to a point like the Thursday, it's like, okay, Thursday night, No Man's Sky. What am I gonna do? I don't feel like building. I don't know. It's just I just am done with building in No Man's Sky, at least for now. Okay, can I do another stranded or a fugitive run? Yeah, but you know what? This is also kind of getting to be milked out for me, personally. So I said, you know what? I need to step away from pre-programmed No Man's Sky. I need to be able to say, today I feel like playing No Man's Sky and play it, actually, feel it. And I also feel like the burnout was starting to influence me very like negatively. So when I played the game, I was more negative about the game, and I don't want to feel about No Man's Sky. That's I don't want to feel that.
I think that's a natural feeling when you're a little bit burnt out with the game. It's been, when you look at it in perspective, for me, it's been almost 8 years, 7.5, 8 years since the game's launch, and I've played the game, and I've done all kinds of different things within the game, whether it's been ship hunting, interviews,
Mhm.
building, et cetera, et cetera. It's it's very common to have a little bit of burnout, and I've taken small breaks here or there throughout the course of those 7.5 to 8 years. But um, although I do still play the game, although I haven't played as vehemently as I once have.
Mhm.
I take a lot more breaks in between. I find I've built a little bit, but I haven't really been crazy building like I once was. It's normal to take breaks within the game, and sometimes you have to take a little bit longer of a break so that when you do come back and you do have that feeling that you want to play and play hard, it's there and you feel very
Mhm.
positive. Positivity is something that it doesn't just grow on trees. You really have to feel that positivity,
Yeah.
especially when you're live or talking with a larger group of people or running a community, um, to maintain that composure of always being positive about the game and never saying anything, truly bad about it. Sure, you can accept that it does have problems and you can talk about that, but it's important not to bring negativity into that conversation, um,
Mhm.
because that's when you start to not like the game. Because have you heard that saying? If you say something long enough, you're going to believe it. It's
Uh-huh.
the same sort of aspect, right? So if you keep saying bad things about it, you're going to eventually believe it, and you're going to be really negative about the game.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot of the quirks that we've seen with this game are very endearing and funny, much like what you saw me stand up, sit down a bunch of times. There's small quirks in the game. Not every game is perfect, and it's important to accept and realize that every game does have its bugs, and to have a little bit of fun with that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, taking the negativity out of it, it's very important. And as a content creator yourself, you really don't want that exposed on your channel, because that negativity means lack of interest from your viewership, and they don't want to see it either, because
Mhm.
they're there to watch you play the said game that you may be feeling negative about. So I totally understand that, and taking a break is very natural and a healthy thing to do.
Mhm.
um, you can't play a single game for that long and not feel like you need a break. So,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, the thing is also, you like you said, you saw the bugs, you know the quirks, and then it's like, oh, No Man's Sky, nothing makes sense, ha ha ha, But
yeah,
the critic or the critics are still valuable or still valid, but if you start putting it in a negative daylight, then it completely changes the feeling about the game as well. And this is not a game I want to feel bad about, because No Man's Sky is one of the greatest games I played and really enjoyed for 7,000 hours, I think.
it's a
Says it
pretty good
all.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good run. I know a lot of players, the newer players in the game, and they've played a couple of 100 hours, and they'll tell you they've been playing for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to play the game for that long and not have a large total of hours count up. And sometimes, even if you only play once a week, which some people are extremely busy, they don't have a lot of time. They don't have a time to play the game or much time to even get involved within a community itself. Those social media apps that we have, like Discord and whatnot. Um, a lot of people just don't have time for that
Mm-hmm.
kind of monkeying around. Um, for me, I'm very heavily into the social media community side of things, and so I sort of have to balance my time of using the social media app and also playing the game as well. And a lot of times, I'll find myself in a voice chat. Um, Catching up with people instead of just reading the phone nonstop, which that was really difficult to overcome at first, because it's like a newspaper. You read it cover to cover, you read all the news. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
newspaper's done. Fine. It's what 30 pages or something. Um,
It's
with
been a
with
while
with
since I read the
social media,
newspaper.
yeah, daily, you never know what you're gonna get. It could be a
Mm.
very long time reading, or it could be very short. And so sometimes it's really difficult to manage that social media, and also find time in the day to play the game, cook dinner. Well, hey, go to work. We all work too,
Mm.
so not everyone is retired. It's a balance that if you don't find it, you won't do well. So
Mm,
I was lucky enough to find that balance a long time ago and maintain it. So I consider myself lucky. Um, I'm not sure how you feel about it on a personal level, but I know that you have your own Discord, and
hmm.
sometimes it's really hard to catch up and stay in touch.
Yeah, true. I mean, the Discord has definitely slowed down anyway lately, which is probably also the while because I was also been less active on it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, uh, finally the M's have also start slowing down because I did get a lot of these messages asking me to personally give them, courses in building. Uh,
That's hard to do. When you're a legend in the building community, people want advice from the best, and that's really hard to make
yeah,
time for
mm,
every individual person.
yeah, well, if you have to join, this is like a full-time job. Join everybody's game to show how to build.
It is. Yeah, I've done many times of that in the cafe. People want to get together, and you can't say no. I don't really feel like it. You go along with it. You make time. You schedule it in your regular work week of things that you're doing, and your I guess your entertainment time, and you
Hmm.
you do meetups and buildings and things like that. You visit bases. Um, I think I spend more time visiting other people's bases and things like that. And which reminds me, I actually missed Loki asked me to visit one of his bases, and I
Uh-huh.
said, "Yeah, I'll come by next week," and then something came up, and I never really had a chance.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the people I need to catch up with again. If you're listening, Loki, I haven't forgotten about you. But
Well,
yeah,
look,
yeah.
if he joins, we'll tell him that he has to watch again so he can see what you said about it.
I think he is. I think he lurks and just doesn't really say much.
Uh-huh.
He works too as
He's
well,
very,
so he
he's
probably
very low
should have
key.
logged. No, no, very good pun, Beeblebum.
uh,
Uh, I'm gonna miss this old studio. It's been a really great ride here, and you've got a collection of studios that you've built up here, and they're all really, really great work. Um, so I don't know if you have the ability to save these on a file or anything like that, but I think these are all a really good example of some of the history of No Man's Sky and the history of Beeblebum and his channel.
mm,
This is nostalgic being in this particular studio today. It reminds me of when I go back and look at my old studio, which I never did delete. I still have my old studio,
uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
very nostalgic. And then you look at you think what year you built it, and you're like, oh my god, it's still it's still standing even. Um, but yeah,
I mean, this is when did we start this? This 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because we started last 2022, beginning
yeah, I think it was
2022.
2022. Yeah. And at the time you're making changes within your channel, looking for some content, and I suggested, well, we could do, the interview thing, like what I
Mm,
used to do. And I said, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. That's not really, something that
mm-hmm,
I've never really been interested in. And I said, yeah, okay, well, if you'd like, I can be like a co-host, and we can sort of bounce off each other, and that way, you don't have a lot of dead airspace, which is always a content creator's worst nightmare, is dead air. And you're like, well, okay, well, let's give it a try and see how it goes. Well, 2.5 years later, here we are. So um, now we're ending an era, I think, in your content.
mm-hmm,
And I don't think the game is going anywhere either. I mean, yeah, a lot of people would say, well, Omega is like an ending, but it really isn't. If you look up the meaning of it, it's actually a rebirth as well. Um, much like Phoenix and whatnot, where
mm,
it rises from the ashes again. So, yeah, there's a few meanings for the term Omega, but I mean, if you read the tweets that Sean has been putting out, um, He's not ending it at all. He intends to carry it through. If you guys do remember, and I'm not sure if you guys do, we did talk a little bit about, how the game generates revenue. And we were in a bit of a speculative sort of, theory session there between the two of us, how they've been generating revenue, how much does No Man's Sky have left in the tank, as Light No Fire was being introduced. And one of the things that we said is that, well, they've reached the cap of generating revenue. They've hit all markets for all of the different platforms out there. That Xbox, Mac, um, PlayStation was always there, and so was PC. But they hit Nintendo with the Switch.
Hmm.
Like all these platforms they've hit. Like what's left? Who are they going to sell it to? They don't generate revenue through in-app purchases or season passes or anything like that. So how do you keep a game going without that revenue? How are they generating revenue for Light No Fire? Well, they came out with a way that we didn't even think of, Beeps. They made the game free for anybody who downloads it
Mm.
for the first weekend of the expedition, and then the following weekend after that, they made it free again. So for
Hmm.
twice, 2-day period, it was free. You can download the game, play the
Oh.
expedition, play any part of the game for that matter, and see if you like it. And I think they drove sales up again, generating revenue to keep the game going. I don't know if they can continue to do that again, but Sean Murray's got a few tricks up his sleeve. Don't count that guy out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I have a feeling they are definitely slowing down. 2024 might be their final year for No Man's Sky until Light No Fire has settled down, I think. But yeah, that's just my feeling. I have nothing to base that on, or I don't have proof. But that's the feeling I got.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Um,
everything has to slow down a little bit too,
yeah, I mean
right?
they need to be able to focus on their new game and provide the same support they did for No Man's Sky. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They've been generating revenue so they could, divert it over to like No Fire. And you can see a lot of similarities between the two games, which is really kind of neat if you look closely, how the game mechanics work from one game to the next. I think, the ability to do what they've done over that period of time, the updates they put out, the content with each update that they put out. I think Omega is the first update that they put out, which have been mainly patch fixes and bug fixes.
mm,
Um, and a lot of you may not even have noticed a lot of those bug fixes. For example, um, many of those bug fixes were for older platforms like the PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch, platforms which have been struggling a little bit. I know on my PlayStation 5, I barely noticed any of the changes. It was definitely running smoother on my PlayStation 5, but friends that I have who use the PlayStation 4, there was a lot of changes which made the game a lot more playable again.
mm-hmm,
The graphics were suddenly better, because they've made adjustments for that, the different code that they had to write for a PlayStation 4 and a slower processing speed. So, like they've made improvements for the game that hopefully are longevity based so that the fans who do enjoy the game, who can't necessarily go out and buy themselves a brand new console or anything like that, can still enjoy the game. So, like, usually when you see bug fixes, I think that means that they're preparing for weathering a storm. In terms of in this case, the storm is the game sort of winding down a little bit, not finishing, but winding down. In the drive to put out
mm.
heavy content.
I also think it would be a good thing, I think, if they take a step back from No Man's Sky, as in dropping content updates. If they can have a small group of people that are like 10, let's say 5 to 10 people, dedicated on bug fixing and just stabilizing the game and doing that, while Light and Fire takes off, people play that, and then drop another update afterwards on a much more stabler version of No Man's Sky would reinvigorate the game as well, player base, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, let's face it, it's Light No Fire is a when that releases, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of players from that are, HG fans, the fan
Uh-huh.
base that games has earned, they're going to jump over and play Light No Fire. Now,
Mm-hmm.
not every one of those fans is going to actually enjoy the game. They may find it not their style. They might
Mm-hmm.
just not like it. They would prefer a space game, or maybe they're just tired of the content that HG puts out altogether and wish to go back to a game that they once played, prior to No Man's Sky. So I mean, you can't please everyone, and in those circumstances, having the game to fall back on, like No Man's Sky, at least the game is still current. It still has a multiplayer. It still has a universe in which to explore. I think it would be smart to keep what they have, at least in the terms of it's still current and is being looked after. People are still taking care of bug fixes. There is support for the game, even after the launch of Light No Fire. I think to simply drop the game when Light No Fire comes out would be a mistake. And I have to think that Sean Murray and his dev team have learned so much over the years
Mm-hmm.
in how to treat its fans that they know that that would probably be a mistake. So, like,
Oh,
learned anything. So they learned
I.
a lot since the game release, and they've made a lot of adjustments and changes. And they don't always show it, but they do listen to the community. They
Mm-hmm.
do, and the proof is there if you look for it.
No, no, true, true. And yeah, No Man's Sky is not going anywhere. Like I said already, it's just it's becoming a part of the channel instead of the channel. That's the difference.
It
This is
is,
what
yeah.
this is what I started with. This is my main game I played for like years and years on the channel, and you already saw me starting to, widen that spectrum a little bit. But now I just want to be more free to be able to shift between games myself. So yeah, I see a lot of people here. I was like, oh, too sad. Beeblebum is leaving No Man's Sky. No, it's not leaving. It's taking a more realistic view on the game. It's like I cannot keep making content as I did in the beginning. So I need to shift it.
Think about shifting gears a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
You're reducing the amount of No Man's Sky streams, but you're maintaining your content creation
mm-hmm.
by picking up other video games. Congratulations, by the way, on being featured by I think it was Space Engineers you mentioned. So
Yes,
that was really good and kind of a cool little feather in your cap.
yeah,
Other games deserve attention as well. Which ones? Well, that's up to the content creator, right? Everybody likes different games, and Beeblebum, he likes Space Engineers as well. And I'm not sure how you feel about Enshrouded and Pal World and some of those other games, but they're out there, and there are other games out there to play. And it's up to the content creator to go with that and to follow his fans and fan support to find the market of where they would like to watch their favorite streamer. So
mm,
many times, I'm watching your stream, and although I'm not vocally active in chat, I'm one of those kinds of guys that I tend to lurk, and I support a lot of different content creators,
mm-hmm.
and so it's really hard to be active in everybody's chat. And so what I'll end up doing is I'll have a couple of streams going on, like on one on mute and one with a voice, and I'm
Uh-huh.
bouncing back between different streamers, just sort of showing a little bit of support and some viewership. um, but yeah, right. I mean, it's really difficult to read your audience and what they want to see, and also keep your own interest
Mm-hmm.
in whatever game you're playing. Because if you're not interested, you said this earlier. If you're not interested, it really shows in a negative fashion.
Yeah.
Viewers don't want to see that either. So,
No, no, and I
you got to
think
read that
this is
room.
very important for a creator. I think I do have seen that there is a tendency lately for actually quite a lot of creators, not just No Man's Sky, creators that are based on one game, that they do tend to become more and more negative if they, get a little bit like this burnout and don't. I'm not sure the word is they don't see it or don't want to accept it, but sometimes you just need to, reevaluate and just take a step back.
Yeah, I mean, think of it, YouTubers or content creators, very much like TV channels.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we were kids, we'd watch a certain TV show, a cartoon, or what have you. When as you grow older, you kind of get tired of it. You find other things to watch, and you may still go back to that from time to time. That old program that you once enjoyed, but you
Mm-hmm.
change the channel. And when you get bored, you change the channel, like we
Mm-hmm.
all have. With content creators, very difficult to accept that your viewers are going to change the channel on you. And so one of the jobs that you can do is, for your own self preservation, is to find content that is interesting so that they don't necessarily change the channel on you. Um, so you're changing the content that is in your channel instead of them changing that content. And
Mm-hmm.
that maintains a lot of viewership as well. It's really difficult to find where that is in a lot of cases, and you just sort of have to read your fans and go with what their threshold of what they're willing to watch are. They already like your personality, which draws them to your channel. So, finding that threshold is really kind of difficult in some cases. Most of the fans who really enjoy No Man's Sky, they like space games in general. They like building in general. And so that's one of the key themes that your channel has, right? With
Mm-hmm.
Valheim, you do a fair amount of building. Space Engineers is all about engineering and building. And Shrouded has a building mechanic. I don't know what other games are out there that have those kinds of themes in there. That's sort of where you tend to sort of gravitate to, and where
Light
your
no
fans
fire.
follow you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Light No Fire. Honestly, it'd be interesting to see what kind of building mechanics they've taken from No Man's Sky and carried over.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks very curious when you saw the trailer. The animation of the building was like, this is different. So we'll
It
see.
reminded me of Enshrouded,
Uh,
cross between Enshrouded and Valheim.
yeah, but I don't know. There's like the animation of the building itself happening was definitely something interesting, and I'm not sure if this is just a trailer feature or if this is something that's going to actually happen in the game.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see. I will see. We'll have to just wait and see. I think. I one hand, I hope there is not going to be any glitch building in Light the Fire. Just pure building.
You know, yeah, well, yeah, okay. Building. Let's take a moment to talk about building and glitch building. Building in video games is somewhat of it's not a new thing, um, but I think there's very few games who do a really good job with the mechanics of building, um, and the things that you can do with it. You look at the difference between, for example, let's look at Valheim as an example. There is no build camera in
Mm-hmm.
Valheim. It's
No.
you play over the shoulder, and you sort of have to create a scaffolding for your player to stand on in order
Mm-hmm.
to build that those certain levels, and angles are very difficult. Although it gives you a lot of snap points and availability, it's not the same mechanics at all.
No.
And to take that a step further, glitch building, that's a whole market all on its own. That's a whole niche thing,
Mm-hmm.
component of building, which not a lot of games have that glitchability factor. Their mechanics are set in stone, and you really can't really play with it an awful lot. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can sort of manipulate a little here or there. I've heard, rumors of the ability to manipulate building to create, certain things. In Valheim, there's a height limit. You can manipulate that a little bit and get a higher limit on the height of your structures. But for the most part, it's almost set in stone. The glitch building, or the Easter egg that is glitch building in No Man's Sky, that's something that has happened over a number of years, and
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those things that was probably originally not an intentional glitch or an
No.
intentional bug, but once it sort of caught hold and it drove a level of popularity, I think Sean Murray saw that, and his dev team saw that and sort of went, "Look, hey, we can capture this. We can make something of this." And they made it almost mainstream with that. I can't remember which update it was, um, where they made it easier to glitch build.
Mm-hmm.
The keystrokes or the button combinations that you press in order to, perform some of these crazy glitches,
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely easier. Like back in the day when it was first
Yeah, yeah,
discovered, and
yeah.
I remember the excitement, with the wire glitch between you and, or I think it was the blender glitch between you and APG.
Mm-hmm.
There was a timing that, and if you didn't have that timing, you were not glitching it. That you remember, I spent countless hours learning that timing until it was muscle memory, so that I could glitch build. And if you were to look on my channel, you would see this progression of building as it took place. Very simple structures and simple glitching to much more complicated glitch building structures. So, that whole Easter egg, that whole part of building and building mechanics, that's taken its whole an entire life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for you, you were perfect timing, get on hot on the scene. You were able to
Cap in the
capture
markets.
that and run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it helped to develop your channel to what it is today. So, glitch building is a mechanic. Building in general is a mechanic that is not easily copied, and I think that's something that we have to not expect when Light No Fire comes out,
Mm-hmm.
because if we expect those same game mechanics to be there, you're going to be disappointed.
Well,
You're playing a
yeah.
game that's very different.
I'm hoping they learned from the building mechanics of No Man's Sky and expanded on it so that there is no more need for glitch building. Um, so that, for example, free rotation and things like that happen or actually exist in the game. So we'll see. I mean, these are more of my hopes than knowing, because we only saw a teaser trailer for the moment. Hopefully, we see something else somewhere this year.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to say, and we don't even know when it's gonna be released. It could be
Yeah.
6 months, a year, 2 years from now. I remember when No Man's Sky was first released, it was 2 years that they released, and their release date changed. They kept putting it back a month here and a month there, but, I mean, you never know with video games, and with a company like HG, they're going to be really careful when they release like No
Mm-hmm.
Fire. I've noticed that they don't actually have any specific platform that they
No.
are working with, other than Steam. There really is no sales on any other platform
No.
for
No.
it, and you know, Steam isn't necessarily proprietary. That's just PC gaming in general. So we know it's coming out on PC. We hope it's going to come out on Xbox, and we hope it's going to come out on PlayStation 5 and other consoles out there. But for the time being, all we know going to be released on Steam, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think they learned a very valuable lesson working with companies, like Sony, um, because that put them in a really tight spot,
Yeah.
and they're very lucky to have survived that and gotten through and made something of themselves. They went from zero to hero. Well, actually, they went from hero to zero, then back to hero,
Yeah.
because the hype of the game was ridiculous. It was so strong, and people were very, very, very upset upon release. So
Mm-hmm.
much so that it changed how that development group thought
Approached
about
it.
their
Yeah.
game and thought
Yeah.
about how to talk with their members of their fans, the members of the communities. Um, they were very open about things, and then they went very withdrawn, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there were all kinds of horrible things like death threats, like really over a video game. But yeah, there were, um, you know, things like that. They change how you are willing to produce a game and how you're willing to promote it, right? And they've promoted it in such a way where they haven't alluded to any platforms, any contracts with any companies, but they alluded that it's coming out. and they've hit a lot of social media. Like I still see like no fire ads on YouTube when on my my feed that comes up. I still hear about people who said, "Oh, I saw this ad on like Amino and I saw an ad on I think on Reddit the other day. Somebody mentioned something about like no fire ad on Reddit. So like all those platforms and social media that we watch and read and use, there's ads on there for it. Twitter, um, yeah, you name it. They went out really big and put a lot of promotion into the game. Maybe
Hmm.
he's trying to see what the market is willing to
Yeah.
to hold, get some hype for the game.
Hmm. No, I think it definitely was a test bet, and seeing what do we need to expect, how big should our servers be, that kind of thinking.
Yeah,
And yeah, I'm pretty sure that this was not like the game is very close by. It was just testing, see what is the interest, how are people reacting, what is the wish list. Yeah.
yeah, I believe what at the time that we saw that trailer, it's probably about a year out. Uh, give or take a few months. It looked very polished, but then again, so did No Man's Sky. And I mean, okay, granted, they're probably not going to have a flood this time, but
They're
still,
higher. They're higher. If they have a flood, then we're all in trouble.
yeah, lightning doesn't usually strike twice, so I
I know,
gotta
but they're
say
also
that
on the
that
second
was
floor now, so they should be pretty safe now.
yeah, yeah, another lesson they probably learned: don't be on ground floor,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's something I'm looking forward to, and I still intend to play No Man's Sky for a long, 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 long time. Um, as we're talking about, the end of Studio 16 or wrapping up Studio 16 in your content creation, I have plans myself of continuing on the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
The format will be a little bit different, and I haven't really locked on to exactly what the format is
Mm-hmm.
going to be and how I intend to present it. I've got a couple of ideas in my head how I'm going to do it. It probably won't be a live event. It'll probably be premiered, as in pre-recorded.
Uh-huh.
That's a format that I really, really like as a content creator. Is I prefer pre-recorded content and then releasing it at a set time and a set date. That for me, that's how I produce my
Mm-hmm.
content.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do intend to continue the process and allow for other voices to be heard within No Man's Sky and hear what they have to say, whether they're big names in the game or smaller names in the game. We see new players every day. I've been fostering a young fellow who's well, he's not so young, but he's new in terms of building and playing the game, and he's discovering glitch building and this great content creator named Beeblebum who's got all these great tutorials out there. I saw that with the camera beeps. Um, and I've
I
been
was
helping
I
out a
was
little bit
getting my
as
keyboard.
the mouse gets you every time. And
I'm trying to drop your
you
link
know,
to your channel.
oh well, thank you very much.
So I'm assuming you're gonna drop it
Yeah,
there, no?
I'm sorry. What's that?
I assume you're gonna be dropping it there on your on that channel, no? Your interviews.
Oh yes, yeah. I
Yes.
don't. I have no other channels. I intend to continue on DG squared as my channel, and the interview process will continue as well. And I do intend to ramp up my content a little. I've taken a bit of a step back on YouTube. I've had some real life things
Mm-hmm.
have taken place over the last little while. I need to focus on my life. Content creation, as you know, is definitely very time consuming,
Yep.
whether you go live or whether you make pre-recorded content. It
Mm-hmm.
still takes time to produce that. And for me, it's not necessarily a full-time job of content creation, but if you want to do it right, you got to take the time to make sure it's right, and that takes time. So, I intend to have both interviews, maybe a little bit of tutorials in there. I've started to take a step back in tutorials, less advanced building stuff, and more beginner style
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
because noticing a new generation of builders are out there, and there's a lot of tutorials and a lot of content creators who do content creation, who do tutorials on a lot of things. But it's really hard, I think, for new players to follow in
yeah,
on some of those tutorials, because what's easy for us is not easy for them, and
yeah. No,
that
no,
learning
true.
process. Yeah, and so I
Like,
figured, okay, well, let's
yeah.
go right back to basic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's about it. Gameplay basics. I may start a new series on gameplay basics on some of the things that you can do, within the game that are mechanically wise, how you can play the game, and little things like did you know?
Yeah,
If you remember years back when I was heavily involved in Amino, we had a series of what we called them wikis, which are different than Wikipedia, that fandom owns. But we had a series of these did you knows
yeah, yeah,
about the game and the game mechanics, and I'd probably go back to a little bit of some of that within not just No Man's Sky, but also Light No Fire, and possibly even some other games that I've been enjoying over the last year as well. So
yeah,
there's a lot of content creation out there that could be done on my
yeah.
behalf.
It's like you said, and as an advanced player, it's very hard to make beginner's guides again because you
It
do
is.
forget the simple basics. I think the best beginner guides are made by people that just jump at the game and figure things out.
You know what? You make a really valid point
Mm,
there. And the funny thing is as I was making these guides, it comes second nature for me to just press the buttons. I had
yeah,
to I had to take a step back and
yeah,
think about what I was doing
yes,
based
yes.
on the content of that particular
Mm-hmm.
episode. Start doing a basic little things. Oh, all right, I have to press both of these buttons. It's not just a quick little thing.
Yeah.
My fingers just do the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other times I'd have to watch another person's tutorial and remind myself of the order of things, of how they're supposed to go, in
Mm-hmm.
order to remember, certain things. One of the things that I forgot was, the tether glitch,
Mm-hmm.
and how the tether glitch can actually be manipulated in more than just a single way. I had to, I cut an episode, I edited it, put some music to it, and then about 8 hours before I was about to release it, I remembered, oh, yeah, there's this thing. So I spent the entire rest of the night re-editing, recutting an
Yeah.
entire new thing. I recorded a whole new thing and
Yeah.
redid it again to accommodate, because I mean, yourself, if you don't put a tutorial out that is not accurate, people are gonna tell you.
Hey, blah 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 blah. But you know what? Sometimes this is
Yeah.
the best way to make content because that's the most interaction you get when people can correct you.
You know what? That you make a point, but I still don't like to be corrected if I'm, for my
Let me
content, because it
tell
just doesn't
you.
look.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what I think about this. uh,
All too many. But yeah, right. I mean, so yeah, I do intend to continue that process, and I think it's healthy to grow and change a little bit as well, right? So it'd be easy for me to say, oh yeah, next week I'm going to take over, and then we're going to have this guest, and so on and so forth. But that's too easy, and I think that you guys know by now that we owe you better than to just continue the same old stuff. Um, I think to do it in the same style is a bit of an insult. I think it's important to roll with the punches and read the room, and adapt to the new playerscape that is watching, our content. So yeah, I'm gonna make a few little changes. I'm gonna have a few guests on my show, which you may not have thought of. Try and keep people guessing on who might be next, what the content may be. It's not all going to be
mhm,
builders. It's not all going to be, any one type of player. I'm going to try and round it out a little bit more around the community of the different types of styles and players that are out there.
mhm.
There's a lot of different people which I haven't interviewed. I'd love to interview. Um, And sometimes that's the hard part, is getting those people to agree to come onto your show. I've had a few people turn me down over the years, and it hurts. But at the same
Uh,
time, they have lives, and they just are not interested. And that you have to accept as a
yeah, true,
professional.
true.
It's, not everybody is going to say yes to what you say. Um, because in our minds we're always bigger than we really are, and that's something that is very difficult to grasp. Um, as somebody who
Mm,
streams to a lot of people and whatnot, is sometimes you kind of have to think about you know not necessarily your popularity or anything like that, but other people are popular too, and that influences on some people's decisions on whether or not they want to, be a guest on your show. Maybe they want you to be a guest on their show.
mm.
Like, I'm bigger, so I should be being the host. Well, that's fine. So then ask me. But you never know, and that's just
Mm,
it. Sometimes you have to reach out there and you have to ask, and other
mhm,
times
mhm.
you sort of have to,
Yeah,
add
I,
something.
listen, I had to do the same now several times. People asking me to join like a talk show or something. I say, sorry, I can't join, or this is or a bad time when an update is dropping and there is a lot of controversy going on. I don't want to be involved at that time. So, sometimes you just have to also be very strategical about who you jump into and what time.
Oh, absolutely. Things within the game which you just don't want to be a part of, toxic environments, you have
Mm-hmm.
to always be weary of and avoid. Um and keeping structured. Some people, like myself, we tend to ramble on, and we'll go on and on and on about a bunch of dumb stuff. But you have to be able to manage that and reel it back in as well as a host. That's one of the things that I learned very early when I was doing the interview processes. Is you kind of have to not let your guest run the show. You have to run the show. You're the one
Mm-hmm.
asking the questions. You don't want people going on about certain things. You don't want to talk about certain things, toxicity in the community or something like that. Um, Politics, no, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. Religion, big no. Those kinds of things you have to keep out of that
Mm-hmm.
public eye, because that kind of stuff will come back to bite you, and you just don't want any part of that. And the hardest part is to keep your nose clean and keep your guest nose clean, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they'll say dumb things,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they'll look back and like, why did I say that? Well, I don't know, you were talking, I didn't have a choice. But um yeah, right. You just sort of have to keep a real close eye on that and be able to manage that, and hold that, the conversation, or be able to change the topic of the conversation. And that's something that's always difficult. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to change, and I think you are too. And
Mm-hmm.
don't all the people that are watching us today, don't think of this as the end. No, no, no. This is just a change, and
So
Beeb's going to
Mika.
be putting content out. That's right, lots of different content. Heck, we might even get together at a later date and do another one of these just for the heck of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or maybe a building thing where suddenly we both have this idea and we want to build something together. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that we could do with Light No Fire around the corner over the next year.
Yeah, yeah.
Something's bound to bring us back together again for some gameplay and enjoyment. Um, so never count us out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely light the fire around the corner, even if it's the 2025 corner. It's gonna be here much quicker than you can say light the fire.
Well, you know something? It's this year has gone by fast. It was just Christmas, not too long ago, and we're already in March.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be long. Like we're already the third month in. That we're a quarter.
When did we get
We're almost a
Omega now?
quarter in.
When did we get the Omega updates?
4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So we listen. I don't know anymore what to expect from No Man's Sky, because there used to be a pattern. Now I don't know, and with the the emojis and stuff, I just gave up. So April might be the next time we get an update for No Man's Sky then. Because February, March, April, yeah, beginning May,
Very
maybe
possible.
halfway April, beginning May, we might see a next update. So when the
Yeah.
update drops, I'm jumping back into No Man's Sky, cover it as much as I feel like it's necessary, and then just move back on to other games. I want to be
Good.
free. That's all. I just want to be free and not being stuck with a game that sometimes just feels like, okay, I don't know what to do with it for today. So yeah.
Yeah, because stale content isn't exciting for your viewers. And
Hmm.
I mean, we still have those space stations, which were found in game files. The data leaks that were out there, though that might be something that comes out very shortly. Um, I don't think anybody really expected what they had in mind for Omega when they released it. Um, Myself, I'm pleasantly surprised. And, we've talked actually. Let's talk about Omega for a minute here. Just a little break from our what we were discussing.
Yes.
You and I have talked, and myself and Lily Hop in the cafe have talked an awful lot of why do we always have to start a fresh save for an expedition?
Yeah.
I've got 100 saves all mixed and mashed together on my account, and I'm gathering the things that I really actually wanted from those and trying to transfer them over, to my main save. Then I'm deleting all these saves. What a waste of time. Why don't they just let us play it on our main save, right?
Hmm.
Well, guess what? Now we can.
Yeah.
It's not quite what we
No,
envisioned,
but I think it
but
was really well implemented.
it really is, and I
Yeah.
actually really, really like it. And I
Hmm.
mean, yes, it does still have a couple of little bugs here or there. Reading on some of the platforms, somebody mentioned they got stuck in the ground, and I know on PlayStation 4, there's a game preventing or a crash that prevents you from actually completing it completely. But other than those minor little bugs, which HG always seems to fix, they've done a really good job with Omega. I really like this update and how they implemented the change in the
Yeah. Yeah.
expeditions. It's not the biggest expedition. It's not the most challenging expedition. Remember, it is designed this way to be able to allow people who download the game for free, mind you, you know, and play it and still have a level of accomplishment. They may not complete the entire expedition, but they can play it. They can figure out how the game works, and
Hmm.
and do something with it, and decide for themselves whether or not they enjoy the game, and possibly buy the game. And if so, then they're in for a big shock, because there's a heck of a lot more to the game than what they actually see in a single 2-day weekend. So, they made it a very easy and short expedition for a reason. I love that I can bring a ship in with me. I
Yeah.
love that I can bring a multi-tool in with me. Those are two things that I always did when I started an expedition. Oh, as soon as I
Yeah.
can warp, let's hit the nexus. Let's pick up the
Yep.
vector. Let's
Yep.
pick up a multi-tool.
Yeah.
And away we go. And then we just do our thing. Well, now I don't have to worry about picking up the vector. Maybe I want another ship. One that isn't available in the Quicksilver synthesis menu. So the ability to bring in my own multi-tool, my own ship, and a bunch of
Hmm.
resources, which are customizable to each individual expedition. This time around, one of the key ingredients we needed was what you needed to make liquid explosives. Okay, well, we all know what a pain it is to go around farming a bunch of plants to craft the thing, but you also have to buy the recipes. So you have to, grind through the process of earning enough nanites in order to buy the recipe as well. So,
Hmm.
in order to do all that, you can cut the road a little bit, make it a little bit quicker on yourself. Well, okay, let's bring some painted metal with me. Okay, perfect. Now I got nanites. Let's bring some, what was it, unstable gel and acid. Okay, well, that was easy. Now that we have those items, all we have to do is craft the thing and buy the recipe. So little tips like that experienced players like you and myself make it a heck of a lot easier for us to enjoy the expedition rather than the grind of an expedition. Um, and I think that was a key change that they needed to make. And we talked about, the ability to be able to use our main saves. They did one better. That not only can you use those items in your main save, you can bring those items back to your main save.
Mm,
So that, the ability to use, I call it the box when I'm describing it. And people go, "What do you mean the box?" I'm like, the box at the back of the Nexus, and they go, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, go take a look. There's a box back there. You stick some stuff in there and you can bring it out again. And at the end of the expedition, you have the option to copy the ship. Like, for example, maybe you found a Sentinel um, ship that you really, really like, and you're like, "Oh man, I don't, I'm." In a lot of cases, we take glyphs down and go back for it for
yeah,
our
yeah.
main saves. You don't have to. You don't have to copy it. Bring it back to your main save. Done. And it's probably already loaded with tech too, so you can pillage all your, the equipment at the end. Take all that, technology out, put it into the Sentinel ship if that's the ship that you find, and then you can copy it, and you've got a fully functional ship ready to go in your main save from an expedition that you found. I mean, really, how awesome is that? Same
Mm,
thing for multi tools. Quicksilver, I know people who call it shopping. They're earning Quicksilver so they can do shopping for some Quicksilver items because you're earning close to 10,000 Quicksilver on this expedition. So you can
yeah,
easily earn the
true.
Quicksilver, bring it back to your main save, and away
The
you go.
advantage is if you do it over your several saves, you can just move them over and then buy the separate ones all over the place because
Yep,
your Quicksilver is cross save anyway. So that's actually a
exactly.
good call. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and a good friend and community leader, Toctic, in the cafe. That's where I first heard it. He was going through his saves, doing it on each one of them, and he said, "Yeah, I'm shopping." I'm like, "What do you mean you're shopping?" Like, "Yeah, I'm earning Quicksilver so that I can go shopping." And because, like you said, it carries over the different saves in each account. You buy something on one account, it's available on another account, and so he's bouncing back and forth between accounts, collecting all those things that he's been, didn't want to grind for originally, for all that Quicksilver. There's a lot of items, and grinding for Quicksilver is a long process to get
It
all
is.
those really cool items. And it's easy for players like you and I, who we've been doing it for years since they introduced the Quicksilver synthesis bot. So we already have a good base of Quicksilver in which to to choose from. For us, it's just a matter of, oh, the next new item is out. Let's just quickly do a mission or two, and we'll just be right up there and have all the new stuff again. For a new player, you know how daunting it is to collect all those building parts just so they
Mhm.
could build something cool. Man, it takes forever. And I've had a few new saves where, you almost want to give up because the grind to collect all those parts is so great. Um, Salvage data, not a problem. But Quicksilver, not so easy. And we don't, a lot of those things that we used, like the Stellar Ice, they're not the same anymore. They don't give out 100 Quicksilver. And if you are lucky to find one, it's not the same. The algorithm has changed. So you can't farm that stuff anymore like you used to.
Mhm. Yeah, I think also the Omega was purely. I mean, the storyline that they added was the like Leto. It felt very similar to the Artemis quest, but just with a different name. I think this was perfect for as an introduction because of the demo. So that's what they went for, introducing people to like
Absolutely.
the begin. It was like a beginning tutorial. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's also, fits in with the whole Greek mythology theme that No Man's Sky has used in a lot of their naming themes, right?
mhm.
Leto was the Greek goddess, I believe, and yeah, the whole story. I won't get into the whole story of,
Yeah,
of
she's
Leto,
Leto
but
is the mother of Artemis and Apollo
that's right, that's right.
in the
And
Greek
so,
mythology.
yeah, so I mean, it's actually a really good fit and a nice way to sort of round out the whole, lore of the
Hmm.
game itself, while creating a new set of lore as well. So I know a few people were drawing conclusions that has a lot to do with the timing of the Dune 2 movies or series that's being released this March. Actually, it was already released on March 1st, but I don't believe that that has anything to do with the name of the story that No Man's Sky is bringing together. I think that's really just a convenient coincidence. I don't believe that there is any link between the two at all. And in playing the expedition a couple of times now, there is no link at all. Nothing.
You mean between
Sandworms,
Leto and Artemis and Apollo? You
Dune.
mean? Ah, no.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I
No,
mean
no, 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 no,
the
no, no, no,
there is no link there. No,
no.
no, no. Yeah, sure. There's
This is
sandworms in the
just more
game,
like
but
a tip of the hat from Hello Games because they do like these kind of they are sci-fi fans, and a lot of the things that you see in the game are like a tip of the hat. Like we enjoy this game, so we made a similar themed story.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It's a
same
very
with
loose tip of
the
the hat.
Starborn Runner is just a tip of the hat to Wipeout.
You know what? I know everybody says the same thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you ever play the game Wipeout? Nobody ever admitted to playing the game Wipeout until the Starborn Runner came out, and then people were like, yeah, yeah, I played that game. I'm like, you played Wipeout? Yeah, sure. Well, it was free on PlayStation 1 month, so it was an excuse, right?
Yeah, I didn't
But
enjoy it, so
I did, but I found it got stale really fast.
hmm
It was one of those games I played for a weekend and then I never really played it again. I can't say anything bad about the game, but it did not captivate my attention for very long,
yeah,
unfortunately.
it was
But
just
yeah,
not my style. I'm not a big racer myself, so none of the
me
race games
neither.
never lasted long in my library. So
Yeah. So okay, now that we've talked about the Starborn Runner, it handles great. I love its flight mechanics. What do you think of the photonic core making a return?
I, to be honest, somebody said the photonic core is back. I said the photonic core is back. I have the photonic core in my my other ship. How you mean it's back? I said, but
Those
maybe
who
it's
don't
your
know.
legacy save. I said, no, it's not my legacy save because my PC is not legacy. So I have no idea
Uh-huh.
how I got a photonic core in my.
Well, okay,
Hmm.
it is a legacy item,
Uh-huh.
that was originally brought out, and then it was, taken away, right? So,
It,
that particular, thing was removed from the game
was
in
that not
exchange
part of
for other
the
things.
was that not part of the Alpha Vector ship that you got for when you bought the game like in
No,
pre-order?
no,
Okay.
no, yes, it was also one of the items in the Alpha Vector, um, or was it the Alpha Vector? Is that what they called it?
There
I
was
didn't
the
actually
Alpha
have that ship.
Omega and the Alpha Vector, I think, depending
Yeah,
on
I never
platform.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pre-order the game. I was one of those crazy buggers who ran down to EB Games and said, "Yeah, have you got No Man's Sky?" And the guy laughed at me when I asked about it because he had already heard all the hype about the game. I didn't. Um, so he happily handed me something which he thought I was going to return. And I ran out of the store all happy and everything and so on. But yeah, no, I didn't have access to that ship, but it was a piece of technology where when you could build the technology, and it was very different back then in
hmm
the day one. That was one of the original components that you could build. It was the only pulse upgrade
hmm
that you have, and it was removed and replaced with other technology, and we always wanted it back. And it was a couple of years back, a couple of years ago now, where people were discovering it in game save files, and so those with Goat Fungus or other save editors would edit it into
hmm
their game, and so they could have it. Like when you remember when we got the solar ships, well, now we have the solar sails, which is another pulse drive, upgrade, and so people were really utilizing that. They were getting the solar sails. They were putting all the upgrades for the pulse drive in there, and then they would save edit the photonic core, and they would have this ridiculous level of maneuverability and pulse jet statistics on their ship. Unfortunately, it was you can't transfer it, around from to other people and things like that. but you could do it for yourself. Now I'm not sure how you had it on your ship, Beebs, but it's never been available for me to
I
ever
no,
build.
I installed it on my ship.
Yeah,
So
so yeah,
either
you
either
probably
I did have some weird bugs. I'm not sure if you remember that I had like these weird building blocks to build, which were I had no mods installed, nothing installed, and I suddenly had like a series of building blocks that were not in the game. There was also another time I actually could build building blocks without having the resources, and that was in normal. So maybe that was one
I
of the
do remember.
times.
It's
Maybe that was one of the
possible.
times.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at it. Bugs in No Man's Sky. You don't say. Yeah, of course. Like there were some strange things that happened over the years. I remember when duping wasn't even a thing, and I was in my freighter one time. I was putting stuff in my cargo containers, and I ran into a bug in the game that all of a sudden I was duping materials. And I'm like, well, this is a kind of a neat bug, and I didn't think much of it. I just, continued to capitalize on the feature that I found. But this is before duping was, and I didn't even make a video of it or tell anyone. I think I told a couple of people in the cafe, like, oh yeah, I was able to duplicate items in my storage containers, and people kind of laughed, like, oh, how did that happen? I'm like, well, I don't know. I took something out, and suddenly it was back in there, so I took it out again. And I continued to do this for a while. But yeah, there's all kinds of bugs in this game that may have very well have been something that just sort of appeared. You having a save editor, if it's in the file, it could easily have been printed onto your save. It's
Mm,
hard to say, but the
yeah.
Photonic Core, at least on regular platform gameplay, has never returned. I have never seen it since it was removed from the game. And I was one of those dumb people who thought, oh well, I'll just rebuild it on my legacy ship. So I dismantled it, and as soon as
Ah.
I dismantled it, I was not able to rebuild it, and I was very upset. Um, and I lost out on that legacy component. But it's nice to see it back, and it's really kind of fun to we could package it up and take it with us and put it on another ship now. So it's not just only the one ship that you can put it
Mm,
on, the Starborn Runner, which I was worried at first that it was only available on the Starboard Runner, but no, you can package it up and you can move that technology over to other ships that you have,
you
if it
cannot
means that
craft
much
it.
to
No,
you.
you cannot craft it. No, it's just something you can either
No,
dupe or
that's right.
replace.
Yeah. And duping is also changed within the game as well. So it's not like you can just dupe it like we did
Yeah,
before. You need to watch one of Cynical's crazy ass videos of do this, do this, do this, do this. Oh, and then in such a way that is it worth it? No. You want it? Go get the Starborn Runner and take it out and put it in one of your other ships.
yeah, yeah.
That's the easiest way to have the Photonic Core. So it's one of those things where I think it's great that they added it. It's a nice change. Um, do we really need it at this point in the game, though? No, no, not
Well,
really.
what they did is just added so that the ship would be more maneuverable. And I think they're still here and there trying to make up for the waypoint break.
Well, you know what? If
Mm.
if there is any other piece of technology that they could add to this game, I think the Odvinsky drive or Advinska, I think it was pronounced, would be a really nice addition to our warp drives.
Hmm.
But other than that, some say that the Singularity drive was sort of a
Yeah,
nod to that, but
it would be
you know,
great though, the Singularity drive to get. I mean, I'm really hoping that they're using this terminal not just for expeditions, but allow to play past expeditions in the future. Have a list that you can go through and say, I want to play this expedition today. For people that missed out, or for people that want to feel nostalgic, or for people that want to get the Singularity drive into their save.
Yeah, and I think that's coming, Beebs.
Mm.
We, like I said, HG does listen to its community, and they listen to us. I don't know where HG heard it from, but they listened to somebody when they were saying that they would like to play their main saves in the expeditions,
Hmm.
um,
Well, there's been a lot of
and
people
it's
asking for that, so it was definitely loud
yeah,
enough.
exactly. And I think enough people are talking about being able to play older expeditions. Um, Especially this year in particular, because when they did the redos this year, or the redux, however you want to pronounce that,
Mm.
when they did them this year, they changed it up. They didn't just do this year's expeditions,
No,
or
they
this
added
past
one.
year's expeditions. They added two,
Cartographers.
actually.
Yeah.
I think it was
Two?
two,
No, one. No,
to
we had
the
three
redo.
plus one.
Oh, was it just for the one? So they added one, where you can get the vector, the golden
Yeah,
vector, which
which
a
was
lot of people really wanted.
funny because the vector was actually from the Pioneers expedition, but they added it to the cartographer expedition as a reward.
That's what fooled me. That's right, because
Yeah,
it was the original. It was the first expedition we ever had, but
yeah,
they put it in on the third expedition
yeah.
that we ever had. It was really kind of interesting. Which, by the way, were two of my favorite expeditions. Um, so it was nice to see that that was added into the game. That they allowed people to have that vector.
Hmm.
Yeah, we've got some ships now that we can get from the synthesis bot that are really good ships. We've got the vector. We've got the Starborn Runner. We've got the what is it? The speed land speeder. I can't remember what
I
it's
forgot the
called.
name. Yeah, it's a speeder. Yeah, but I forgot the
Yeah,
name.
yeah, and that one came with a communities expedition. So like we've got some really good ships that are available to us to use, for say you want it for an expedition, or maybe you just want a free S class ship. They're right there in the Quicksilver synthesis bot. There's great things to choose from in there. We've got lots to choose from, and the Vector is a great ship. It was my go-to expedition ship for a number of years.
Hmm.
And now
I
we've got a really good selection of
yeah,
ships that you can choose.
I think the Golden Vector was at the time the most maneuverable ship. No, I mean it was because of the updates, the mods, but it was, I think at that time, it was definitely one of the most flexible and maneuverable ships.
Yeah, I don't know if its maneuverability was the top of its kind. I do know it was one of the most maneuverable ships,
Yeah,
but that's only because of
Utopia
the fact
Speeder.
that it
That's the
was.
one. That's the one.
Thank you, the Utopian Speeder.
It was.
Um, yeah, Um, but it definitely had some really good maneuverability stats. It came with almost all of the upgrades, which made it really easy to pick that one up. It also came with a phase beam, which is a bit of a detriment because that meant you can take pirates down with a phase beam. Sure, it's not going to be very efficient, but you can. So I mean, we were always left with having a great ship, but we had to upgrade it as well,
Hmm.
in terms of its firepower. Utopian Speeder, opposite. It has great decent maneuverability, but it also had the infra knife, so that was a really good win
Yeah,
there. Good firepower.
but
So
can you not
go on.
delete? Now you can remove the phase beam, from your ship if you have another weapon installed.
Yes, you can remove the
Yeah,
phase beam and you can remove the photon cannon.
I mean you couldn't do
Um,
that before, but now you can just remove everything that is no longer. If as long you have one weapon in there, you can delete the other ones. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. You
yeah,
have to have a
which was a
weapon
good
in order to
update.
delete the weapon. But if that's the only weapon you have, you won't be able to delete it,
Hmm.
unless they've changed that, which
No, no, no. You
it's
need to have one
possible. I
weapon.
haven't tested it.
You have to have one weapon.
Yeah, I haven't tested it this last update, but it stands to reason that has not changed. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of great ships to choose from. No longer do you have to sit around and wait for an S class ship. They may change it to that too over the years. Now you can pick up an A and upgrade it if you want. And unless you're a min maxer, you're not going to really notice a difference on the stats. So you know, there's that natural S class, which you can find out there in the wild, which you can take a chance with the RNG and try and get better stats, or you can just upgrade it and still have a great ship and take out pirates seemingly just as fast. Min maxing really only counts most in a PvP atmosphere. Um, PvP is a
Yeah, or
component of the
bragging
game,
rights.
but yeah, like does one extra shot volley fired with in a an automatic weapon. It's like you're shooting an Uzi, and it takes half a clip, to kill a target. Okay, well, then you get this fancy new Uzi, and it takes half a clip minus one bullet, to kill a victim. You're gonna notice that? Probably not, but its stats are better.
Hmm.
So, min maxing is its own game entirely, and that's something that a lot of people really do like about No Man's Sky is the ability to do the min maxing and play with the stats of their weapons and so on and so forth. I think skill is more important than stats in that regard. So,
Hmm.
but that's just my own personal opinion. Don't kill me for it, but that's my opinion.
Um, the only thing I missed, but I do understand why it is not there. I was assuming that the starboard runner would actually be hovering, just because of the effect it has, and it's hovering over the landing pad. So it's like, yeah, maybe it should also have hovered, but on the other side, it's a racing ship, so it shouldn't really sit still. It should go, go, go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you fly it, you'll notice that there's a certain level at which it'll go as low as it can possibly go to the ground, and it will
Hmm.
follow the terrain, right?
Hmm.
So it's meant to be a low atmosphere racer,
Yeah.
which, well, what was Wipeout? It was basically a hovercraft, right? Racing. So it has that sort of feel to it when you're flying really fast, on a planet's terrain. Watch out for those trees, but other than that, you can get fairly low, and it'll hover and follow the uh, topography of a planet very nicely.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I do like that. The ability to hover or to get really low. Um, it's nice that we can do that with certain ships. I think the Sentinel ships we can do that with, and I think the Utopian Speeder you can do that with. That was a feature that was part of the game a long, long, long time ago, and then they removed it because too many people were just slamming into the ground and dying. Which I think, well, too bad, so sad. That's part of the game. It's flight
Yeah, I did
mechanics, right?
kind of enjoy that.
Um, yeah, like a lot of the things that I used to do is fly. I'd fly low and slow, following those ley lines, and search for things. This is before we had maps and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, I'd follow those ley lines to find a lot of things out there, and it was one of those skills that you learned in the game, to find stuff, which I think is a little bit lost in today's game. Now you can just buy a map or a series of maps and find it that way. There's a lot of changes in the game over the years, that have made it easier for the average player to play and enjoy the game without hours of grinding.
Hmm.
So
But yeah,
HG's done a good job of that, I think.
as I have shown in my stranded and fugitive runs, is that you can always make it harder for yourself by just making self-imposed rules.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
this is something I never understood people complaining about. For example, the easy modes and stuff as well. It's like, well, you don't have to play it like that. So everybody
Yeah.
plays. This is not a game. No Man's Sky has never been, and I don't think it will be ever be a game where it has to be, in competition with others. It's a different style of game anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you want competition, you make your own competition, like
Hmm.
what yeah, United Feud Core,
Yes.
Ultimate Feud Core. Sorry, mispronunciation of the names. The Ultimate Feud Core. They've created a great tournament or series
Hmm.
of tournaments, and that's PvP based. So that's a great way of putting competition in a game for those who want it. It has never been about competition for me. I don't play the game that way, but there's so many different game styles for this game that we play, where most games do not have that ability. Um, was there competition for Starfield? No, they didn't even have multiplayer. Is there competition in other games like say Valheim, for example? Not really. No, like you can get all the things, but there's really not a competitive atmosphere in there. It's playing with others and enjoying doing things with others. Um, No Man's Sky is very unique, where it allows that open sandbox of very, very different styles of gameplay, anywhere from difficult to easy. It's introduced a customizable feature where you can customize your game saves. Like, you play the game the way that you want to play the game, and they've never made it easier to do so. Um, I cannot think of any games in the past that have allowed for um, that openness, that variable, to be able to play it the way that you want. Um, it they've really opened the door to that open
Mm.
sandbox. Not everybody wants to grind, not everybody wants to be competitive, not everybody wants
I
certain
like the
things.
grind.
I like to grind a little myself. I find it enjoyable and a little bit therapeutic. It allows me to turn my brain off. But I also like to build, and that's very much a thinking man's game too, right? Where you're thinking of angles and creating scaffolding or wires. So you have to think your way through some of these builds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It can be very much a thinker's game. Um, you know, uh, okay, I'll say this live on air. I used to smoke a fair amount of marijuana. So, you know, when I built, I did not smoke because I would have difficulty thinking of the things that I needed to do to build the great structures. When I didn't smoke, it was pretty obvious that I could build some pretty cool stuff. When I did, there
So
was a
maybe
lot of mistakes.
there was some pretty awesome stuff being built until you watched afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're like, "Oh, yeah, maybe I should cut back a little bit there." Or at least, wait until I'm finished building and do something else, and then maybe have a little puff. But, you know, it's one of those games where you can play it any way you want, and if you wanna concentrate, you can. If you wanna not, you don't have to. Grinding is a therapeutic thing where I don't think, I just do. It's a repetitive motion thing. Um some people enjoy it, some don't. There's lots of games out there that are grindy. This one has a little taste of everything, I think, and it's one of the things I've always loved about No Man's Sky is there's so many different things that you can do in this game
Hmm.
that attract so many different game styles and different players. Um, you may not really particularly like space, travel so much, and so a lot of people it is a space game, but they spend most of their time on a planet exploring, doing
Hmm.
zoology, or maybe they just want to build. Forget about flying; they just want to build, man. We know lots of players, you and I, that's all they want to do is build, and they're not interested in the games, all the expeditions, all these new things they keep adding. They just want to build. Give us new
I need to
building
do
parts. That's
expedition
it.
for
That's all they
build
want.
parts. Damn it!
Yeah, yeah. I would like to see more new parts
Mm.
introduced. I think there could have been some changes, but when I think back, I think we're being a little bit picky about the game mechanics of building. This brings me back to what we were talking about earlier. There is no other game out there that has the same type of building mechanics as No Man's Sky. Not even
No,
Minecraft has what No Man's Sky has. That says a lot.
no.
So,
I think you can definitely put No Man's Sky in the top 5 building games so far I played, and I think it's, I would say, definitely in the top 2.
oh yeah, yeah. I never enjoyed building games until I played No Man's Sky,
Hmm.
um, and even then, it wasn't until I built some stuff, sure, but when glitch building was a thing, and it was becoming a little bit more mainstream, and people like yourself and APG were using it more and more, and showing others, teaching others how to use it. Where I saw the most growth in myself, building, you know, all kinds of new structures. It gave me a new life in terms of enjoyment of the game. Before building was just throw up a structure of some kind, and I built some interesting things. They were not your generic stuff, but at the same time, there wasn't as much thinking involved. There wasn't that creative process that took place when once I learned how to glitch build, I can get a lot more creative blending parts, putting parts in positions that you can only do with wire glitching or blender
Mm-hmm.
glitching. um, you know, and they've improved on that over the years, which is pretty cool. I mean, really, some of the cool glitches that we can do now, like the universal adjacency glitch, that really just makes it so you can almost do anything in the
Mm-hmm.
game. um, the resize glitch, and I'm not talking about the new one that you put a tutorial out just recently. The
Eh.
the old fashioned resize glitch where you can only go up to three times the size of any
Mm-hmm.
part, up or down. Um, that in itself made things really, really, really cool in order to be able to
Mm-hmm.
get
I
creative.
I think the universal adjacency glitch has been one of the biggest bases for the newer glitches coming out as well, like Cashpin
Oh yeah,
and like the resize glitch and things like that. So it definitely was a
absolutely.
big discovery, and I think I mean, it has replaced the adjacency. The favorite glitch, adjacency glitch, was at the time, is now the universal adjacency for sure.
Yeah, I think if there's a top three um, glitches or building mechanics in the game that have changed the game. Um, I have to look back, and the wire glitch or blender glitch was one of the first biggest glitches in the game that
Mm-hmm.
changed how we build. And another one that I think of is, and this isn't necessarily a glitch, but you are using a glitches to perform this particular task. And this is something that you can claim is the perfect circle. Um, you know, People made circles before, and there was a long, drawn out process. But when you first developed that perfect circle method using the biodome,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we saw circles hit the scene, and people were building circles, arches, rounded walls, rounded everything. Circles were everywhere. And I still use circles in a lot of my builds because having that curved wall or a curved surface or something curved um, made the game way more creative in your builds and the things that you
Mm-hmm.
can do. And the third one is the universal adjacency glitch, the ability to swap one part using any other part, and you can just interchange all kinds of different things using the basic game mechanics of green state. So those three things are probably the three biggest mechanics that have made changes to the game and the level of creativity that is being shown um, out there. Some would say the resize glitch is a pretty, big game changer, but those who are creative enough, we didn't need the resize glitch when we were building creative things. We came up with really interesting things with the blender glitch,
Mm.
creating new objects and new looks.
The, the
Um,
the thing is also
so
with the resize glitch, no matter which one it is, you don't use it as much as you use anything. It's just like this is a featured part that you add to your build, and then the rest
yeah,
is all small glitching anyway again. So like the repetitive glitches that are being done is definitely not a scaling glitch. That's like once, twice, maybe three times you do it, and then the rest is all regular
yeah,
glitch
it's more of a
building.
feature than it is a
Yes,
mainstay,
which is
right?
like it's nice to
Um,
have, but doesn't really make so much
yeah,
difference to my.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're very right. The blender glitch, that's a repetitive thing where you'd be glitching multiple things in a repetitive fashion all around a certain thing, or you'd have a scaffolding setup of wires where you'd be glitching onto. The same thing for a circle. A lot of times you're creating multiple circles to create different shapes. I think of kaleidoscope being a really good example of that. And of course, the universal adjacency glitch. It doesn't replace the blender glitch, um, but it does open the door for different possibilities of parts to
Mm,
be one, blended together, and two, parts repetitively placed in all kinds of different positions
Mm-hmm.
using different parts. And that's really changed the game. Uh, those three things, and I still use circles all the time. I may build a circle differently because we've come up, we've learned different methods of doing that. Um, I think Drucifer came up with a different method
Yeah,
using wires and
yeah,
floors,
it's
and
definitely
that
the way to
changed
go
how we
now.
built
Yeah,
circles. It is, yeah. It's
yeah.
way faster to build a circle that way. And remember, it's not like you can't use a biodome, but they changed the mechanics of how things could be built in a biodome, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what changed how our thinking of building circles in the game when that update first came out. We're like, well,
Well,
how are we gonna
yeah.
build a circle?
When
That was
when
one of the first
Frontiers
things
dropped,
we
I
all
was like,
thought.
holy hell, they broke our effing circles.
Yeah, I know, right?
uh,
Um, and building a dome. It's like, are we ever going to be able to build a dome again? I mean, Beeb's finally perfected that the dome
no,
method, and now we got
never
to figure
making
out
any sphere
another way.
tutorials anymore.
But
Mm.
other ways are found, and that's been used ever since. And now, I mean, you could throw together a 16 or 32 sided circle in a matter of minutes,
Mm-hmm.
with very minimal glitching involved, right? So, different methods, different times, the mechanics have improved and been refined, and the that's one of those things where I don't think the circle can ever be taken out of the game now, because even if they change the mechanics, the circle is so loved, people will find a way to build the circle. And geez, I remember when there wasn't a method, and Boyd came up with a method years ago, before anybody, before the facta curve, before the Olagolos curve. Boyd had a method of making a circle, and I did it. And let me tell you, it took all day to create one 16-sided circle, and it wasn't 16 sides; it
That was
was
the one with the cube on the
three
pyramid
sides.
and rotating it and piecing it in between. No.
Yeah, it was the pyramid and the ball. The not the orb, but the that adornment piece. I don't remember what they call it now, but the round ball there. And if you rotated it, it would rotate in thirds, and then you can place a square block under it, and then build up, and then back
Uh,
down and out. And so you were building a sets of three. It wasn't 4, 8, 16, and
I mean,
so on.
uh, is this no? I think my second or third, I think it might be second video that I made for this channel was building a circle with the technique that Ballista Cola did at the time with the flag.
Ah, yeah.
So he
It you
centered the
know it
flag
it
on the
worked.
pyramid, then dropped the cube, rotated the cube, placed it, extended, then again. My God, that was
It
such a
yeah.
pain.
It worked, but the amount of work involved
It was such a pain.
in that was a lot. Just to build a simple circle, it was a lot. Yeah,
Uh,
and it took all day. There have always been ways of finding, different things that you can do within the game. Um, Getting back to Boyd there, when I first learned of it, he built a pop can, a simple pop can. It was big, right? Obviously, but he built a pop can, and it was a great big cylinder out
mm-hmm.
of blocks. And you think to yourself, my God, that's revolutionary. There are certain players in the game that have been creative like that since the very beginning, and over the years, other people have picked up building and learned and created their own set of skills which can be transferred or taught to others. um, but there's been such a change in how things have done in the game mechanics, and the players change, but the mechanics, you know not the mechanics, but the geometric forms and shapes, they haven't changed. We always find a way. There'll always be somebody out there with a new method, and I think that's one of the things about building, which in this game, the creativity that players over the course of the 7 years of this game, um, it is truly remarkable. And I shouldn't even say
Mm.
seven, because technically we didn't get building until after Foundations. So
Yeah,
um,
and still, that was not even glitch building. It was just prefab building.
it was It was just base building, basic parts, and
I mean,
if those of you remember, we didn't have a base computer.
no, it was a
It was
building,
it was a
no?
circular room. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was one of those pods, right?
And there was a
And
there
you'd
was a
have to
base computer
find it.
inside the building.
Yeah,
Yeah. My God.
yeah, and you'd have to find it very much like a wild base computer. You'd have to find it on the planet and try and then claim it and so on. And there was only a handful of them on the planet.
Mm.
Building was different back then, and finding a
It
base
was, to be
computer.
honest, it was the best option for having no more. I mean, if you think about it, this would also solve the trolling, the people building over top of each other.
Oh, there was still trolling back then. There was definitely trolling
Uh,
back then because you could go and you could claim that over somebody else's if you took the multiplayer aspect off of it. They didn't have multiplayer,
yeah,
but you could go offline, right? You could go offline,
yeah.
find that base computer or that pod and claim it, and then when you go back online, you've stolen somebody's base. And so that was a method that some people did try. And
Always.
I could think of a couple of incidents where that was used, and a couple of incidents where it was used as bait, and a couple of content creators who fell for it and have never shown their ugly face again. But um, yeah,
Hmm.
trolls. This game, every game's got them. There's all kinds of things that people will always find. It's like you build a safe. Okay, you might build the biggest, best, toughest safe ever. Guess what? There'll always be a criminal out there that'll crack it,
Yeah,
and you can improve upon it, and they'll improve too. So there's always this balance. There's a counter for everything. Um, and No Man's Sky is no different. It's got so many different options available, and the player base is so wide. The variety of different players and the different things. Um, you know, this is the first game that I've ever played where the community has taken over its own game all on its own, where it's almost a game in itself, being a community member or a community leader. Um, well, as I said earlier, there's a balance that needs to be found when you run a community, because you're dealing with social media apps and other people. It's not just get on and play. There's a whole community of people that you can play with and share your discoveries with. Um, it's the first game that I played where the community is as big or as great as the game itself. And what a great community we have here. No Man's Sky players, the members, the fans of this game. I've met some amazing people and friends, real life friends, in this game, where I've visited friends, um, that are nearby my hometown, and developed really good friendships just from playing this
hmm,
game and its communities. Um, it is definitely deserving of all the awards that it's won for best community, and community atmosphere. And I really hope that when Light No Fire comes out, that we're able to continue that in it may not be the exact same type of format, because the game of course is different, but I think with a game that totes as itself as a multiplayer game, that we can continue that community and that vibe that has made HG uh, able to win so many awards.
they got nominated
It's the
again, by the
people.
way, for
Yeah,
the evolving game for the BAFTAs.
that doesn't surprise me. You know, when you've got people in the community that are constantly changing and playing and enjoying the game and the different game mechanics that are introduced, you're going to win those kinds of awards, and that's another great feather in HG's cap. And I take a lot of pride in being part of, a small part of that community,
Hmm.
which has allowed for those types of awards to be won. Um, it's not just the game devs in this case; it's actually the community members themselves, and everybody should,
No, no, no,
give themselves a little pat on the back, for
no.
being really good person and member of the community.
I definitely think the OG players have to pat themselves on the back for keeping this game alive for so long.
Yeah, and it's
Because
been passed
if
down from two,
yeah,
right?
true,
To
true. But I mean, I would say that everything between release and beyond is the community that have kept the game alive. After that were the people that have started joining because they have seen the redemption.
Absolutely. The OG players, as you said, they kept the game alive long enough for HG to fix a few
Hmm.
problems and get it back up to where it needed to be in terms of what it was expected to be. Um, yeah, they kept it alive, but it's also important to note that that same vibe is infectious, and when you practice a vibe like that of good positive thinking and community vibes, you're passing that down to the next generation of players. And we've seen several generations take place in this game where we see new waves of people playing the game with each update that's come out, and those people have taken the torch and been passed on, and they've passed the torch on to the new generation from there on in. And so what you we're left with now is several generations of people with really good vibes, and
Hmm.
a lot of really good communities. I mean, there was only a handful, back in the day, of really good communities. Now, wow, there's countless Discord servers of communities of people. Discord's kind of unique because it's non-searchable, so you don't even know how many communities are really out there for No Man's Sky. Reddit is a searchable app. Amino at the time was a searchable app. As underdog as it was a searchable app. And so, what we found was, if you look up a certain thing or a name, it would link you back to Amino or the wiki or Reddit. Um, Discord is very unique, where it is probably one of the better of the gaming companion apps, but it's non-searchable. So you really have no idea how many communities are out there just based off of Discord servers, and there's a lot of them. Um, I don't even want to count how many on my phone, but let's just say that we're nearing 100,
No, no, there's
and
there's
that
there's a
is
lot.
scratch the surface.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of streamers, for example, as well on Twitch that have their communities as well, which are. I always feel like the Twitch and the YouTube communities are a little bit split, and sometimes you don't know about it. But there's some really great communities on the Twitch side as well, with good streamers and a good
Oh,
group. So I
absolutely.
think there's way more people that we don't know about that are still playing this game. I mean, we are currently, is it 7,000 players for the moment per day?
I don't know. I don't have the stats on
I
that.
think we peaked at 23,000 when they dropped the update with the demo. Then it went, of
Okay,
course, down again. I think we're at 7,000 again now, like the stagnating at the 7,000.
that's still
But
pretty good for a
7,000 people is
7-year-old
still,
game.
and that's only on
Yeah,
Steam.
that's pretty
I'm
good.
talking about Steam. I'm not, because I don't. PlayStation and Xbox don't share their numbers.
No, they don't, and
No.
I mean they've hit every platform out there, right? So there's
Hmm.
there's Nintendo Switch, there's PlayStation, both PlayStation 4 and 5. That's an interesting topic all on its own, but they're two different platforms.
Hmm.
They're two different platforms. PlayStation 4 is a different code altogether. They have to come out with their own update that's been written for that. Than PlayStation 5. You've got Xbox, you've got Mac, Steam. What else am I missing here, Beeb? There's I think there's other
Did they
platforms out there that play the
did they release it on the GeForce now?
They might have. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, we have
They seem to have
GOG
capped
as
everywhere.
well, but that's all the.
That's a fun thing. If you guys haven't tried that, the GOG, going back to nostalgia, you can
Hmm.
play some of those old versions of the game.
Yeah.
So quite a ride. As they say in the advertisements, the journey continues.
Yes, it does. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to to Light No Fire, because I definitely want to cover that one. and see what we can share. I'm looking forward to the exploration, and I'm hoping it's really going to be really in depth, so we can last another 10 years on this game as well.
I think we
Um,
will. I think the longevity is there. They procedurally generated things. They I've noticed in games that have come out over the past few years, those that are not procedurally generated tend to have a lifespan that are not very long. There's a playability factor of anywhere from 30 to 130 hours, and games that are procedurally generated allow for longer gameplay, more things to find, more things to discover, more things to do. Um, and I think that in itself is a revolutionary way of maintaining a longer um, playthrough of a game where you may have played through the game and done the things, but the procedural generation allowed for more things to be able to discover or rediscovered in a different way,
mm,
and that ability to be able to do that allowed for each player to have their own unique experience and continue to have experiences throughout the longevity of the game. I don't think No Man's Sky would ever have been as good a game had it not had procedural generation technology,
mm,
for its platform. Um, I think that if things were discovered once, that would probably be it, and nobody would even really care to bother to travel to other galaxies. Um, there's 256 of them, rumored to be a 257th now.
uh,
Um, you know, rumors. But nevertheless, that's a lot of galaxies to go fly around and discover something new. And even OG players still find new things, discover things that they didn't notice before. Um, that's 7 years in, and some things are being noticed. And like, "Oh, I never noticed this before. Did you?" Like, I noticed it a while back, but I can't say when. But yeah, there are new things that players are discovering. I read all the time in my own community of the cafe that people see something that they never noticed before, and somebody else may have noticed it, but nobody can ever really pinpoint when they noticed it or when the change happened. So there's still stuff to explore. There's still lots of things to do in this game. I think no fire is going to have that same playability factor. Um, yeah, it's one single planet, but it's a giant planet. Like it's
mm,
ridiculously big.
yeah, yeah. If you have to go on, let's say they say it's Earth-like. He said larger than Earth, but let's just say Earth. Um, if you have to go and cover every little patch of the land in the Earth, and there's of course sea, you're gonna be a long time. So it's gonna have the same feeling, I think, as No Man's Sky, like to discover.
Yeah, yeah, and I think early in the game, as it's released, we're gonna see people circumnavigate the globe. We're
Mm.
gonna see that. That's something that people want to do. People are driven to do. I'm driven to want to do that.
It's 80 days,
To
no?
jump on a dragon and fly from all across the planet, from one end to the other and back again, and see how long does it take? How big is it
Eight,
really?
80
Um,
days.
you know, yeah, it could be. I
You
remember
travel
when we
around
tried to
the
fly to the sun.
travel the world around 80 days. Is that on a movie?
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? If
With
you remember, we used to try and see how long is it going to take to hit the sun, to pulse drive all the way to that center star there of each solar system. Um, about 8 hours, and he never really hit it. You kind of sort of did, but the game glitched out on you, and you never really entered the orbit of that center star there in each solar system. So like they made it so that you could never really achieve that goal. And they may make that, in Light No Fire as well, where you might be able to circumnavigate, but when you come back around, things will be different again. You don't know.
mm,
None of us really know. That's the beauty of procedural generation, is it's procedurally generated as you see it. Um, and it may be discovered and set in stone once it's been discovered. But you're talking about every square inch of a planet. Um, Look at our own planet. Have we discovered everything there is to discover at the bottom of the
Hmm.
ocean?
No,
No
well,
way.
well, I mean, we can only guess, and that's the problem for the moment. So I'm really keeping everything in check. I have like never really said like I'm gonna speculate about Light of Fire because you don't know. But I
Yeah,
can see some really great things happening once we know what the game is. Once we know what's happening. Because, for example, in their text they are saying that there will be a persistent world where people can build together. So I'm wondering if, for example, people are going to be able to set up a complete community together where they build together in like an area. I would definitely like to see like pilgrimages to certain villages or something, or cities or whatever. That there's some really nice ideas forming, but we have to wait until the game drops and then we know.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm really hopeful for the ability to build a village or a city. Keep in mind we're talking about medieval style
Which is nice.
of game. Yeah, and so you don't think in terms of like city, but more along the terms of tribe or village.
Mm-hmm.
We may see a series of little communities get erected where you've got groups of people who have built little cities or little villages of places that can be explored, gone to, discovered. Um, I like the idea of a whole community aspect. I mean, we already have many communities in No Man's Sky, and a lot of the fans of HG are going to transfer over, and they're going to find their love in a new game that is built by the same developer group. Um, and so I think a lot of those, community members are going to find themselves building communities again in Light No Fire, under the same sort of guise but different names.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I know myself, I've been talking an awful lot with Lily Hop of the No Man's Sky Cafe, and we're trying to develop little plans, of how we can try and transfer over, some of the knowledge that we've learned in No Man's Sky, in community building, that is, over to Light No Fire. And there's some good ideas and some changes that are going to need to be made, but I think that's going to continue. And based on what they're saying of the game and in a massive multiplayer online game, um, that's going to continue. And unless they have an issue in terms of multiplayer or playing online, I think that will always continue because people like to congregate. People like playing together. People want to group up. And we saw this early in No Man's Sky before there even was multiplayer. People were grouping up and doing things. I looked to the Galactic Hub was one of the first great communities that
Mm-hmm.
ever was started in No Man's Sky. And say what you will about that particular community, that it's always a hot topic. But they were the first, and they started something with that community, and others followed. Um, you know, um, and people really like to get together. I remember the first day, people were triangulating and finding ways of being in the same instance or the same place at the same time on the same place on the planet. I did this myself before we even had orbs and anything like that. um, we would triangulate using landmarks and things like that in the game. So people want to do this. It's a thing.
Mm.
People
I
like to find ways.
I find it funny because uh, what you just explained, what the players did, I found it always funny that Hello Games then added the story to it, where the same happened between between Artemis and the player, where you don't see each
Yes.
other. This is, yeah, I just enjoyed the fact that they made a joke about it, about this, like, see, even Apollo, even Artemis and you didn't manage, so.
Yeah, and I
Mm,
mean, if you look closely in some of the things in the game, there are little nods from HG to these communities, like for example, the Deep Thought Collective. If you take on some of those guild missions and things like that,
mm,
there are mentions of the different communities out there.
mm,
They're sort of hidden in text, but they're there,
mm,
and and yes, for all those interested, the Deep Thought Collective is still very much alive. They do have a community still, and they do get together and hang out and play the game, and they do still do a little research. You know, that was one of the first groups that came out that emerged when the ARG was very active. The first ARG with
mm.
Emily. Um, and the groups like that, they don't ever die out. They're friends for life. Um, Galactic Hub people, there's a lot of friends in that community, which are friends for life. Same thing for Cafe, Amino Hub, um, countless other OG communities that have been around for a long, long, long time. So I don't see that changing. I see a lot of adaptations being made for Light No Fire. Um, but how far that goes, well, nobody knows yet because the game. We've seen a single trailer, one. We don't know anything. We don't know anything. We're basing all these assumptions off of a trailer that we all saw, based on information that they were passing on through a
Mm.
single trailer. There's so much more to follow, and we don't even know anything yet.
No, no.
Um, and I'm looking forward to learning more and including its release, so that we can all ramp up and get ready for that.
Yep.
So,
And I
at
am
that
100.
point, I mean,
I'm 100% sure they will be also much smarter about this now. So I'm really believing in the success of Light No Fire.
yeah, HG has definitely shown growth in terms of how they release information. For sure. Nobody wants to see what happened with, originally with No Man's Sky. That was, a whole list of bad moves, bad publicity,
Young,
bad
young
everything.
and
Yeah.
unexperienced. Yeah,
Well, they were brand new
yeah.
dev company that had just come out, and they banded together for that one the one game. And sure, yeah, they made Joe Danger, but I mean that wasn't really that was just something to make a little bit of revenue, to build No Man's Sky.
Mm.
Um, the No Man's Sky is a revolutionary game. They also came out with what was that one? The Last Campfire.
Last Campfire. Yeah,
That's a great little game, but it lacked the longevity, right?
it was
That was
a
set
linear story as
amount of
well. No,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah, very linear and a set amount of hours. I think it was total about 30 to 40
Hmm.
gameplay hours. And
Perfect game for the
once you
Switch for
achieved
sure.
that, yeah, once you
Yeah,
achieved it, there was really no reason to play it again.
they did
Um,
add some puzzles. No, did they not like a second
I th- yeah, I think
download?
they had an update where they added some puzzles to it.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it limited gameplay. Um, I see Light No Fire being very much like No Man's Sky, where it's continuous. Open world kind of discovery where it just continues. As they always say, the journey continues, right? So
Mm.
that's their premier game that they're working on. Um, it's not there to replace No Man's Sky because I think No Man's Sky will still be running after the launch of Light No Fire. I have to believe that even HG understands not everybody is going to like Light No Fire, and they may try it and then go back to No Man's Sky. Um, and I think it would be foolish for them to close No Man's Sky down, or,
No, no,
or,
no,
or
no.
drop support for it. That
I
seems like a very
that's no.
bad move, in my
I don't
opinion.
think that's gonna happen as well. I just see a slowdown, which is
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah, instead of multiple updates per year, maybe only one big update
Yeah,
that
I
has a lot
think
of bug
this is
fixes and
something.
things.
I still believe that that was the better way. The big update per year with two side updates left and right.
Yeah,
Um, the continuous updates every 2 months, I think was nice, but also setting expectations every time too high because people were
yeah, and
expecting big updates every time. which is
Yeah, it's really hard to maintain that, and keep the bugs from creeping in, right? If you spend more time on the content, and making sure that it's released right, then you've got a better chance of success. If you're pumping them out really quickly, you're less inclined to focus on fixing the bugs than you are of putting out new content, right?
Mhm.
And so you've got this balance, and I think as the game slows down, as you say, they'll focus a little bit more on putting out good content that is they don't have to spend time fixing bugs on because they already did the work or they spent the time to do the work for it. So they release it. It's good for another year, and in the meantime, other players are playing that other game that Hello Games puts out called Light No Fire. And you've got this balance in between, right?
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot that can be done. I think HG has learned an awful lot over the years on how to do these things, and manage their company in the best possible way to put content out, and its game patches. I would like to see beta being used, like beta spoilers or beta players where you sign on to be a player, a beta tester,
You
and
mean
you test
NDA?
these things.
NDA?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right. Like a lot of people will say, well, you can do play the experimentals. It's not quite the same. Experimentals really are only one platform, and beta testers, you would need a tester for each one of the platforms to
Mhm.
test out, make sure the bugs are working, and then the update is released. I think that's a really good way of introducing one new content, which hypes people. Um, it also ensures that the game is or not the game, the update is put out in a fashion where it's less buggy. Sure, there's always going to be a bug or a glitch here or there, but it's less buggy, and they can anticipate those problems a lot easier when people are testing them on various different platforms. And I've seen other games utilize that as well. It's a really good tactic for generating hype for an update that's coming out.
Yeah, and also
Um,
controlled hype. Yeah.
yeah, right. Like, sure, okay, it's a spoiler, and you might not want to see, what's coming out next. I want to be surprised. Sure, but the benefits are, I think, greater if you've got somebody testing out, the updates before they come out, and building a little hype for some things that maybe some players are really want to have a thing in the
Mhm.
game, and it's being introduced in this beta. Well, then that builds hype for that thing.
Mhm.
So I think there's definitely benefits to beta testing. And I'd like to see that with Light No Fire for sure. Some beta testing. Um, and you can sign up for a thing like that. They can control it any way they want as to how many players do the testing, and allow for different platforms to do so. So it's fully in their control. They can do that.
No, no, no. I hope they learn their lessons, but also don't completely disappear and just use emojis for uh, lighting a fire, because I am done with them.
Well, the emojis lead to a lot of speculation, and a lot of speculation videos and content, that's put out. Some could say that's great content because it keeps content creators busy. Other people can say that it leads to false advertising or things like that. Take it how you will. Um, I'd like to see better communication from
Yeah,
HG in
no.
general to its community. Yes, okay, they did get a lot of threats, and it was a very negative way when they released No Man's Sky. But times have changed, and they've learned from their mistakes. I think it would be okay for Sean to at least be a bit more communicating
Mhm.
towards its members,
I mean,
on the changes they intend to
l-
make.
like you said, Sean doesn't even need to talk, as if they have a community manager, or if they have a program where creators slash community members can be part of for testing, and then have for example, an embargo where they can only drop up news at a certain time before the update. That would be, I think, perfect for building the
Well, they do have
right
a
hype.
publisher. Yeah, and they do have a publisher. So, there's no reason why that publisher isn't more active with the community and talking with the community. And it
Mm,
doesn't have to be on an individual basis. It can be on a broader scope where, press releases,
mm,
are done, and
yeah, yeah.
maybe
Or
a
like
small
a
Q and
play
A for
let's
a live
plays.
stream.
I've seen
Yeah,
so many. I mean, I understand that they don't want to do this for No Man's Sky, and I still understand that, because of the questions that can get dropped in the chat. I understand, but I think for Light No Fire, it would be great to just see Sean Murray sit behind the television with a camera and just play the game.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of interesting. I've seen other games that I've played over the course of this last year, um, different developer styles
Mm-hmm.
and how they do their game. And one of them, which I found very notable and a really great way of communicating with their community, they live stream it. And they're
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily playing the game, but like you're on camera, and I see you here on my YouTube there. You've got this little, square box, and you're there and you're talking to your audience, just like you and I are talking now. And, a couple of developers, they get together, they live stream for an hour, they talk about updates, what is available, how to use the update to your advantage,
Mm-hmm.
what is okay and what is not okay, what they plan to do a little bit in the future, but more structured to what the update is all about and what they're trying to do. And a little bit of joking and playing around and interacting with the chat that is scrolling on their YouTube live stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it's really good to get to know some of those developers. They
Yeah,
talk to
true.
you on stream.
Mm-hmm.
You, as a person, a human, a nobody who's just playing a game, a fan, when you have a developer who's developing a game that you love to play, and they actually respond to you directly through a
Mm-hmm.
chat message, that is that shows that they care
Mm-hmm.
about those people in the community. They care enough to chat with you, communicate with you, and thank you for purchasing their game and playing their game, because they're just as appreciative as you are to them
Mm-hmm.
for spending the money to buy that game. And that's a really great way of communicating with your public in a controlled fashion, where you're not spending countless hours, going over, talking with individual persons or talking in a social media app. Live streaming it is a really good way, and you can do it once a month or once every couple of months whenever an update is scheduled to release. You just live stream it, talk about the update, end stream, done. Everything's been covered, and everyone's happy in the end, and everybody feels loved. That
Mm-hmm.
to me is a really, really good way of doing things, and um, I think it would be a really good idea for Sean Murray's development team to maybe he needs to add a couple of personnel for promotional effect like that to allow that to occur. But it's a really good way of talking about something which is a fact in the game, not
Mm-hmm.
speculation, a fact. This is the update. This is what we did. If there are problems, use our Zendesk, and we'll try and sort those things out. But they're talking about actual facts, not speculation, not what they want to do in the game, what
Mm-hmm.
they did do, and that's a good thing for sure. Yeah.
Whew, I'm getting hot in my studio. Probably my headphones. The heat cannot leave my
Well, we've been
ears.
talking about some serious stuff here, Beebs. I mean, I got emotional in that last little talk there. Jeez. Um, so
Um,
you know, yeah, this is Studio 16. Its final episode. I think we had a really good time with no guest today, talking about the future of No Man's Sky, the future of HG, the future of our own channels, for that matter. We've had a really good time just talking, the two of us. We haven't really had a chance to really talk, just the two of us, for a while.
true.
We only ever spend a few minutes, at the beginning of each episode. So this is really nice
Yeah,
to,
quickly
you
catching up.
know, yeah, right. It's been almost a 2 hour stream here, actually over 2 hours now. and we've had a chance to, just talk with each other without any, expectations of a guest or anything like that. So I think this is a really good way to end things with Studio 16. Um, and move forward with your own game content and how you'd like to continue your own channel and my own as well. um, I look forward to putting content out for you guys again and getting back into a rhythm of monthly content. um, that's where I'm leaning myself in doing interviews and things like that, or highlighting certain community members more of a monthly basis, very much like Studio 16, but in my own
Mm-hmm.
little personal format. If I were to copy what you're doing, I don't think it would be doing it justice. Each person has it in them to do their own thing. That individuality is what makes people unique and so on like that. And so I would not be doing it justice to just copy paste what we've been doing for my own thing. Um, I have to go about my own way of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a good way
Well,
of changing content enough to captivate an audience that is
yeah,
interested in watching other people talk. So
you already have the experience. You've been doing this a long time before as well, doing the interviews, so it should be like jumping on a bike,
I
no?
have. Oh yeah, yeah. I've done this for a long time. I started out with Nerd Down Dylan, who I guess now he's known as the Canada Lorian, I think, or something like that. He
I
changed
love
his
the
name.
name.
But Nerd Down Dylan was a Twitch streamer that I met when the game released, and we've been friends ever since. And we had this idea back then, and I came to him, and he came to me at the same time. We're like, "Hey, I got this idea that I think would really drive your Twitch channel." He's like, "Yeah, okay, what is it?" And I told him, and he says, "Really, I was thinking about that, but I can't do it alone because I'm nervous and I need someone to help host it with me." So that's where it began. Um, and we had some really great guests. We had
Yeah.
Ray Rod on the show. We had a lot of big names at the time who were big names that were influencing the game at the time. I think just about everyone except for Cobra TV, who didn't want to do the show because he was a bigger name and thought it was a little bit beneath him at the time. But yeah, we had some really big names and some really great conversations. And that's where it all really started, was with Nerd Down Dylan on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then I continued it after he didn't want to do it anymore. Like any content creator, he had to change his content.
Mm-hmm.
And I let things cool down for a year, and then I picked it back up. And there's been a few iterations of the interview process, but
Well, you don't need to
um,
wait a year. You can start straight away, DG.
I'm thinking within the next couple of months, while I find a format that works best.
Mm-hmm.
I still use my PlayStation 5, and I don't have a very powerful computer, so running an OBS might be problematic. I don't want to spend a lot of money on
Yeah,
capture
yeah, yeah,
cards
yeah.
or anything like that. I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it for the community. So for me to spend money on it is, I won't say it's wasteful, but at the same time, there's a learning curve that goes with that, which I'm not really willing to
Spend time on. Yeah.
spend time on when I have other options available to me, which I think are just as good. Um, so I'm going to explore some of those options and see what
Mm-hmm.
works best. But it's got to be done in a fashion that is, one, professional, and two, that it is satisfying to both the viewer and the person that I'd be interviewing as well. Because if you don't have good content, they're not going to want to be on your show.
Yeah,
So
true.
you have to balance that out a little bit, and go with the flow. I have my reasons on why I prefer pre-recorded content, just as you have your reasons why you like live content. And that's probably one of the biggest differences between Studio 16 and whatever I
Mm-hmm.
put out in the next form or fashion. I can't tell you the name that I'll be using, and you guys can all listen in and wait for that to be promoted. We're going to be calling it Cafe After Dark,
Ooh.
and it's all going to be based on different members of the community and not just cafe oriented. Cafe is a community, but it is being produced by members of the cafe, being myself, and yeah, Cafe After Dark is what the name is going to be, and we're going to roll with that and just see where the future takes us. I
Nice.
look forward to it.
So
Yeah.
definitely check out the link. I dropped the link there and it's pinned in the chat. If you'll go and check out DJ, if you want to see more of this kind of style, in the style of DJ, of course, go and check him out.
Derpy style. Before we end things off here today, Beeps, I would like to take an opportunity to thank everybody who's watched the Studio 16 series with you and I. We've seen a huge variety of different names pop in and out of stream. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to thank everybody for their support and their love and everything that has been positive that people have said and experienced with the Studio 16 between Beebs and myself. I can't thank you guys enough and appreciate you enough for everything that you've given me in terms of support and the willingness to want to continue to do these things. Because without you guys, the viewers, watching and enjoying the show, that gives us feedback as to whether we're doing things right or wrong, and also that being able to talk or allowing us the platform to be able to talk and listen to what we have to say. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure it probably means a lot to Beeblebum as well. And so I can't name all the names because there's so many. There's so many. We have 74 watching at this time, as it says on Beeblebum stream. And I'm sure there's probably more that have come in and out, but I thank every single one of you. And I see I've got a couple of new subscribers from this as well. So I thank you guys for subscribing as well. I hope I satisfy you in the content I put out. But thank you, everybody. You're all fantastic members of the community, and I look forward to hopefully captivating you as an audience as well over time. Um, you're just awesome people, and I love this community. I want to continue it.
Yeah, and this is not the end, guys. This is just a evolution. So we are not going anywhere. Both Gigi and me are still part of No Man's Sky community, and just going expanding our ways. That's all.
Oh yeah, no, we're not parting ways. Beebs and I are still friends.
Yeah, we didn't fight. That's everything is okay.
Yeah, there's been no disagreements. Just Beebs is undergoing changes to keep his content fresh, and as a content creator, you got to respect that he is making changes to satisfy his viewership. And this was a great run. Studio 16 was fantastic, and I'll always look back on doing co-hosting the show with Beeblebum as a great thing, and never as a negative thing or a detriment in any way. It was something that I really enjoyed, and I hope he enjoyed doing it with me as well. And like you said, this is not the end. This is just a changing a little bit. He has to move forward with his content for his YouTube channel, and I'm going to continue doing something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I enjoy doing these things because I like letting people talk. I like talking. But I like letting other people talk about their experiences of the game, and I like trying to showcase other people who are lesser names in the community who don't get a chance to talk openly in front of a wider audience. So for me, that's the the part that I really like. That's the rewarding part, is letting other people have a little bit of that spotlight. And today, Beebs and I were under our own spotlight, so I'm blind now. Thanks, Beebs.
I'm blind. I'm hot.
You're
it's
hot,
probably the
I'm blind.
campfire.
Okay. It's
might
time
be
to
the
end it.
fireplace. Might be the fireplace. No, I did.
Yeah, the
No,
fireplace is pink.
did you say Beeps is undergoing changes? I don't think you said that. No.
I did, but changes for your content not necessarily in your manhood.
So yeah, I mean, I cannot say it better than DJ said. But yes, thank you guys all for joining every time during these Studio 16's episodes. I have enjoyed having everybody here. I've seen a lot of the guests we have in the chat, so that was great to see as well. As I said, we're not going anywhere. DJ is going to keep on making content about No Man's Sky. I am not going anywhere for No Man's Sky as well. It's just going to slow down, which means I will focus on No Man's Sky when it's what's the word? Warm, hot, and then just go back to other content just to make sure that I can also keep enjoying making my content as well, because it does you do feel it as a viewer when somebody really enjoys the game they play and when they kind of feel a little bit flat. So I want to keep that enthusiasm going for my channel as well.
There's a certain excitement level, right? And you want
Yeah.
to keep that. I think that's important. And it's smart for any content creator to realize and understand sometimes you have to change with the times. And right now, Beebs has grown to a really good level, and he's enjoying other games, and other game developers are enjoying him stream the games that they put out as well. So it's a great evolution of Beebs' channel, both of his channel, because you also run the B side as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good to embrace some of that change and some of the uh, different content that you're able to put out. And anybody who thinks otherwise, I think, is only a detriment to themselves and their own growth. And Beebs has definitely grown over the years. From where he first started, and I think it would be a smart move for him to be able to adapt to the change of the player base and the games that are being produced today. There's a lot of great games out there, and we should
Mm-hmm.
be checking them out.
Yes.
So
Shouldn't you quote that? Beeps has grown. That's a good quote.
that's a yeah. Oh dear. Head quote. Yeah.
Uh, all right, guys. I think we're gonna end it off here. Thank you so much all for being here in the stream. Thank you for the how many likes? I missed them there. 86 likes. Appreciate it a lot. And yeah, we'll see you when we see you on No Man's Sky. As I said, keep an eye on DJ's channel when he is starting to drop either his videos or his coffee after dark. And yeah, that's gonna be it.
Thanks a lot, Beebs. I had a great time today, and I had a great time doing these with you. Studio 16 will live on in a different fashion, and this has been a really great experience streaming with you.
Likewise, DJ. It was a real fun experience for sure.
We've always got a laugh in there, so I think when two people are laughing and enjoying themselves, it really shows. And this has been a really fun experience over the last couple of years, and it's I hope to do it again. Honestly, I do. To get together once in a while, and it doesn't have to be an interview process. It could be something completely different.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun hanging out with you and getting to know you on a really good personal level with a lot of members of your subscriber base. So take care, everybody. Thank you again. You're all just too kind. I love you all, and keep that drive going, everyone. This community is the best, and it's all because of you guys.
See you all. Bye bye. Goodbye.
Until next time.